Today's guest is Daniel Knight, founder of KnightOps and a systems architect helping coaches, consultants, agency owners, and scaling businesses use AI, automation, and technology to create more leverage, more impact, and more freedom. Through KnightOps, Daniel helps business owners move out of manual operations and into intelligent systems that support growth on autopilot. His work brings together 10x thinking, we're going to get into that, collaboration, future self-identity, and conscious technology to help founders expand their capabilities, protect their zones of genius, and build businesses that feel easier, more lucrative, and more aligned. You are speaking my language. Hi, Daniel. How are you?
Hello. Hey, Chrissy. Hello, everybody. Super good. Just so excited to be here and continue our conversations. They've just been so great.
Yeah, before the break, we were talking about our love of dogs, and before the show, we were talking about dogs. So, you're a dog person. So obviously, you're a good person. You're cool.
Yeah, facts. That's just rite of passage, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you heard me reference the 10x in the intro. What is the 10x for you? Where did that come into play?
Yeah, actually, it really goes pretty far back. There was like a moment where I realized I was like, oh, this is me. But ever since I was a kid, I always just had massive visions and just seeing the potential of, what I could do in my life and just always thinking super big. And a lot of people will associate 10X with Grant Cardone and the 10X rule. And I take a very much more focused approach on 10X is easier than 2X. I'm really excited because Dr. Benjamin Hardy, he's the one who authored that book, along with Dan Sullivan, who a lot of people would be familiar with. But Ben he's coming out strong. He has been kind of quiet for the past few years, and he is now really doubling down on everything he's doing. And so I say all of that because that's where I really started to see the power of 10x thinking and being and strategies in your business. Because when I went down the Grant Cardone path, I essentially burned myself out, doing 10 times more than was actually reasonable. And also, it's very much 2x activities that are encouraged. Calls. How many messages can you send out? And I'm a leveraged type of person. And after doing that, I'm a very hard worker. So after doing that enough times, I'm like, yeah. And so then I discovered that 10x is easier than 2x. And I was just like, this is what it's all about. This makes so much more sense. It takes the massive thinking and puts strategy to it, where when you're thinking in a big way, and I like to challenge people around their business. If you were doing 10 times more revenue, 10 times more clients, right? We just had this conversation a couple of days ago, yesterday. And it really just creates a completely different filter and frame for what the signal is. And so I like to take people through an exercise of take a really important goal, multiply it by 10, and then reduce the timeline to 90 days. And your brain just starts thinking differently. People will usually go, that's crazy. That's impossible. I don't even see how that would work. I'd have to start doing this. I'd have to stop doing this. I'd have to change everything about my business. I'm like, now you're onto something. It's exactly. Exactly. Because what we're doing typically isn't going to get us to the next level unless we're really thinking through what's holding us back. So that's really the shortest-ish version I can give of it, but that's what it's all about. And I love applying that thinking to strategic partnerships. Been doing that very focused over the past few years, and now to systems. And I'm just super excited about that. So
that's awesome. Yeah. I was first introduced to the 10x is easier than 2x. That was my first introduction to that whole concept. And yeah, it just made a lot of sense. And I'd already been familiar with Dan Sullivan. I believe that was not his first book that I read, because I remember seeing his name and going, oh, yeah. But not the other, not Ben. So I'm going to have to look up his other stuff. And now that he's starting to be more active.
Yeah. Well, and Ben's written some really powerful books. I would say, so his co-authorship with Dan Sullivan on 10X is Easier Than 2X. It's a really powerful book. That led me to his other book that Dr. Hardy wrote called Be Your Future Self Now. That changed everything for me. That was a huge shift. Yeah, so good.
It's really funny because I talk about future self a lot, and I've gone through those exercises with my coach. And that was probably one of the most powerful ones as well for me, because it was really like embodying who she is, not necessarily what she's doing, but who she's being, how she thinks and things like that. And, it was hard at first to do that kind of work, if you will, to kind of even have a conversation with her. Like my coach literally had me have a conversation with her. And that felt so weird to literally be in my chair talking as me, then switch, talk with her. And it felt so weird, but it's called the Gestalt method. But so it's really not weird, but now it's a lot easier. And I can, if there's something I'm trying to think through, I'll just sit for a second and go, okay, what is 5 years from now, Chrissy, thinking about this? And that's been really, really helpful. It's a practice. I'm not going to say it's a like automatic thing. It's a daily practice.
Yeah. Well, and you hit it on the head. When you get into that mindset on a daily basis, it will absolutely just transform everything, because you start recognizing things that you're doing that your future self wouldn't do, or your ideal version of your future self. But then also, like you said, how you're doing it. Are you doing it out of chaos and stress, or out of alignment and purpose? And when you are operating from the mindset of your future self, it's out of alignment and purpose. And we recognize the things that, we maybe wouldn't be doing. And I went super deep on this. I even started a community with somebody who I think you would just love. Her name is Sherry Gideons. And we started Future Self Universe together. It's kind of just on the back burner, but it was really fun just like kind of going through that together. And it's just like so powerful. And then there's one other thing that I do that I listen to daily is this future self audio that is literally in my voice from the future, speaking about all of the things that we accomplished, kind of what we needed to do and be to get there. And I'll just give a shout out to Nico Arapkales. He's the one who created that. It's called Vision Espresso. I bet you would love it. Like, you'd absolutely love it. That's where I met this other person I was telling you about.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, and so Vision Espresso creates this future self audio, and it's just so powerful, like speaking about all of the amazing things, the impact, and your family, your life, your routine, like all of it. And it's just so amazing. It's really impactful. So I love it. Like, that's probably the whole 10X and the future self conversations, along with like AI and systems and probably dogs. Those are my favorite conversations.
All good topics.
Just like one or two, right?
Right. That's awesome. Well, and what I love about it too is that it causes you to actually think about what you do want, like what do you really want in the future? Because it's amazing how many people are like, well, I'd like a lot of money. Okay. Well, what does that mean to you? What does more money mean to you and do for you? And so it really helps you get specific, because you need to know, what does the day look like for your future self? Do they get up at 10 a.m. or do they get up at 9 a.m., 7, whatever? What's the preference? I'm not a 4:30 in the morning kind of person, but if that's what your future self does, sure. I don't do the cold plunges, but if that's what your future self does, sure. So, it was really neat getting to like kind of walk through. And I even used AI to help me like map out, here's what I'm envisioning for my future. If I'm thinking like this kind of an entrepreneur, blah, 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 help me map out my ideal day, and had it ask me some questions and really kind of get to what my future self's ideal day is, so that I can start working toward that now.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And it's funny because it's almost like you're picking on the first two lines of my future self audio is
Oh yeah.
waking up at 4:30, cold plunge. Yeah, I love it. Like my best days are when I get up at 4:30, I go to the gym, I get a solid workout in sauna. I like to do the future self meditation in the sauna. And then ideally cold plunge. That's like a very, that's more miss than hit. Um, and then I do my top 10x action item at the gym. And it's like that whole stack is just like
That is a good stack.
the best.
Yeah, that's a good stack.
Yeah.
And I'm a 5:30 in the morning person. That's more my sweet spot. Unless my body decides that 3:30 sounds fun. And then sometimes 3:30 is what it is. But yeah, I like 5:30.
Yeah.
I am more of a morning person, but I'm also a nighttime person. So sometimes those don't work out well.
Yeah, I get that.
But I don't cold plunge. I like the concept. I've done the face one. I'm cool with that one. But I haven't done the cold plunge because of my nervous system and my autoimmune thing. Apparently, it's not great for people to shock their systems like that if they already have a nervous system issue. So I try to stay very zen, and a cold plunge doesn't seem like very zen.
You know, it's like it's a mindset, right? Like if you're in there and you're just like, oh, it's so cold. I mean, it's definitely a lot. But so whenever I get in there, I always just remind myself that I'm grateful that I have this opportunity, and I lie to myself that I love it. And it's usually a little bit better. But as you do it more and more, it really helps. And I don't know. I have very little knowledge about this, so I wouldn't challenge you or on that or anything. But I could see it.
If it works for you, it works for you.
Yeah, I could see it like helping actually like regulate, because if you're able to regulate your nervous system while freezing to death in a bucket of water or a tub of water, whatever, that might help in other situations.
Yeah, I could see that too. I do like sauna though. I can get down with the sauna.
That's my favorite, like all day long. I love it.
I was looking at we're considering a barn dominium for our next house. That's a real thing down here in Texas. A lot of people are like, what is that? I've never heard of it. But it's really a big open concept where we can have all our big things because everything's bigger in Texas. And, you get these big wind doors that open up, like, so you can let the fresh air in. Anyway, and I was looking at some floor plans and there was one with a sauna in it. And I was like, now we're talking.
I love that. Yeah, 100%. That's great.
But in order to get that barn dominium, I have to have all my systems in place at my agency so that I have capacity to plan that barn dominium and get it all ready. So that's a nice segue to transition into those systems. How did you figure out that you were good with systems?
I think it was more of just like accepting it. I've I've kind of known that for a long time. I mean, I was fixing and flipping electronics when I was a kid. I just posted an article today about it, and I made this image that like, wow, I prompted Gemini to make this image from 12 years old, fixing and flipping electronics to building $100 million systems, and it gave me this image, and it like really just hit me. Like I like saw my 12-year-old self sitting there like tinkering with electronics, and I was just like, whoa, that's crazy. So like I've always kind of been doing it, but I really like in the past couple of months I had this big event. It was called Unicon, a 10x unicorn experience, and it was all focused on systems and strategic partnerships. And I've known for many years that I'm really good with systems, but really just kind of owned it in the past couple months and have doubled down on, more like tripled down on it, in the regard that I've kind of offloaded prior businesses to somebody else because I've got the systems and processes and everything kind of put together that somebody else can run it now. So I can really go all in on tech and operational system architecture and development. Because after that event, I had expectations. I had goals of converting my mastermind offer from stage, and it didn't really work out as planned. And so I took stock. I really just took a second and thought through kind of everything, and where I had created the most value, and where my zone of genius was. And I'm going back and forth with Claude and all that, and it's just like systems. Like, I have done so many incredible, powerful things for businesses, building out systems that have generated. I feel like if I say systems one more time, I'm going to throw up. That have generated significant revenue. And I just love it. Like, I get it. I can see like how the system needs to be built to streamline the whole business and help generate revenue. Sorry, that's not very PC for a podcast.
We'll just call it your keyword stuffing on the audio side for systems. So there you go.
Yeah, system, right?
Well, that's something that it's interesting. So you and I know we had an offline conversation. We were talking about our human design, which for people who don't know, that's like your Enneagram, all of those personality type of stuff kind of go in that bucket, but I go a little bit deeper into it. And so I have done the tests and that tell me that I'm a manifesting generator. So I realized a few months ago, as I was doing things, that it wasn't lining up. The way I was operating wasn't lining up with the way I was created as a person and how I'm meant to operate. And it was just really mind blowing. And so I realized that's why I crave systems, because my brain has so many ideas that if I don't have systems and things in order and in place, all the tabs are going to be open all the time and they're all going to be vying for my attention, which is what happens. And I really wish I would have stopped. Maybe I'm in year 5 of my agency. But I wish I would have stopped maybe year 2 and made sure all my systems were in place for the future growth. Meaning, I'm going to pretend for right now that we have 30 clients and, we're pulling in this much money. What kind of systems do I need to put in place for that? I wish I would have done that, because we grew so fast that year 3 got really messy, really painful, and really my saboteurs came out like crazy because of how chaotic it was in the back end. And I got burned out trying to still make sure the clients were getting served, but I didn't have my systems in place. And so I started getting them in order, and we're getting there. My team member this morning, who was in charge of the SOPs, she told me that all the SOPs are 98% done. So I was like, okay, awesome. We're getting somewhere.
Yes, I love it. The fuel is in the rocket ship.
Yeah.
Now the rocket ship needs to be built.
I know.
The fuel is ready for the rocket ship. You've got it.
And I have,
I love it.
Pieced together. It's just, I would love my whole operating system to like have, my own. And I have some that are like, I know I've teamed up with Atlas Rose Marketing Agency, and I know they're creating one on the marketing side, but that, we're a brand architecture and PR agency as well. So we're like a yes and. So there are just so many things available to us now that AI and I know you and I, you've used AI probably longer than I have, but I've used it for years. And so I am excited about AI as far as systems and operations and things. What's your favorite tool right now?
Claude, 100%. It's just so powerful. And like, I was like diehard ChatGPT forever. I don't know how long I've been using it, but I saw this video on LinkedIn. It was like these 2 guys playing ping pong and playing as like professional ping pong. And it's just like back and forth. Like, one guy's just smashing the ball and the other guy's just like hitting it back and hitting it back. And as soon as the other guy on the other side got into position, he was just like and it was over. And I was like, this is what it's like going from ChatGPT to Claude. Because there was just like back and forth with chat, and it's just like so much and so many and just like a lot. And then you bring Claude into the mix, and it's just like direct to the point, done, better, and way more than you thought you asked for. But it's exactly what you actually wanted. And so I love it. I use it to the max, and sometimes more than that. And so then I got to pull out codecs to do edits and things. But yeah, that, I mean, it's just the possibilities are endless. And I think I was telling you, like, I mean, it's my favorite because it builds me anything that I want, everything that I want.
No,
Like,
it's
I
that way.
needed
Yes.
yeah, yeah. I needed a timer for this speaker competition that I did a week or so ago. And I was like plugging all the names into this timer app. And I was like, this is going to take me forever. I'm like, I already have the agenda, all the speakers, the time slots, and all of that. I'm like, and like the duration between. I was like, I could just build this. So I built a timer app, and we used that on the screen, for as like the backdrop for all of the speakers. And it was just like, it was dynamic, and it was branded, and it was like custom and perfect. It was awesome. And it definitely took me less time than it would have to like put all of the names into that other app. Granted, I know what I'm doing, and I already had a lot of it built, right?
Yeah.
But I'm kind of a perfectionist. And so then I went on to make it even better and more powerful. And that part, I can't say that the whole project took me less than putting it into the timer app, but getting to the minimum product, which is like how I operate when I build these things, like that was just so fast. And so, big shout out to Claude Anthropic.
I know.
Really
Claude should
just
be
love it.
sponsoring. I talk about Claude a lot too. I like Claude. Yeah, Claude's my
Yeah.
favorite. I use chat for things like recipes or schedule stuff. Like here's my schedule for the week. Help me, plan out my days. Things like that. I use Little Bird as well. Little Bird's a little creepy because it watches your screen, and then
Mm.
anything that you've seen, it has also seen. So super creepy. You can turn it off if you're like going to go on your bank or something. But I've used it to, I really have my squirrel moments quite regularly. And so I used it after the first week of using it. And I said, how productive was I last week? And it said, well, you had a lot of context changes quite often. And it just kind of broke it down. And I was like, oh, yeah, that sounds right. All right, help me fix that. And so it did that. And then another cool thing that I like to use Little Bird for is like I was on a call with a client, and they wanted we were going to schedule our next meeting or whatever. While we were on the call, I just hopped over to Little Bird. It's already hooked up to my Zoom and my calendar. And I said, here's their email, schedule this meeting for them, send the Zoom link. And it scheduled it, added it to my calendar, emailed them with the link. And it took me 15 seconds. So it was pretty cool.
Awesome. Yeah, I need to look into Little Bird, and now I've got my gears are turning because I've been like thinking I need something that like, but it's still computer. Like I need something that just knows everything. Like all of my, I think it's one of those AI note taker pins that might do it. That plus maybe Little Bird. I don't know, but
Yeah,
yeah, that sounds cool.
I told the team to use Little Bird just long enough to like as they were building their SOPs, because I'm not going to make my team put that on their computer like all the time, but like for things that they were trying to do the SOPs for, I said just have Little Bird watch you do it and then tell you what the SOP is, tell you how you just did that, and that way.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, thanks. I have my moments, and well, that's what they did, and yeah, it's been really helpful. So I'm excited to take a look at what the team's put together because I've been craving it. Now, we've done it for other companies. We've put together playbooks for other companies. So it's just kind of funny that we didn't have our own, but now we do. We have our frameworks. We had the frameworks already established, but they were in my head, which is not scalable. So
Mhm. That's awesome. I love that. Yeah, that's great.
well,
Super exciting.
tell me, you talked about the $100 million systems that you've put in place. what did you have to put together in order to support that much?
So really kind of a series of different like businesses and things that have gone through to accumulate that number. A lot of it was kind of just through like forms, web forms and automations to kind of help streamline like capital contributions. I was involved with this tax strategy where people would make contributions to reduce their taxable income. And so I created the systems to really just kind of streamline that whole process, automate the whole document collection and, getting the wire transfers in and then just reconciling
Oh,
everything,
wow.
creating the calculators for the financial advisors to be able to present the numbers to their clients so that they could just quickly give them a recommendation and then the clients would make the contribution. So through that system, that's where the bulk of the number came from. There's about 80 million through that strategy. And then, yeah. And then, just a handful of other kind of similar types of things. A lot of it really just coming down to getting people money. Like there was the, what was it called? The ERTC, the employee retention credit during,
Yeah.
COVID. People were able to get money back for keeping their employees on staff. So we created some systems to help streamline that process. Did like 12 million with that. Helped people get money back for being overcharged on their credit card processing fees. That was probably more like 1 million. So just a handful of kind of similar things that have just accumulated to that. And then working with financial advisors to build their dashboards to manage their clients. That brings like another chunk of 100 million just from like building out those systems because of their books of business, pulling multiple different sources into one so that the financial advisors have like one source of truth. I had this one guy who was spending 3-4 hours every night. Like he'd get up at like 3 a.m. to prepare for all of his client review meetings because he would spend 30 minutes to an hour on each one. And so he was just killing himself with these things. I'm like, we can systematize this. Let's build a little dashboard. We'll bring all of the information into one spot. And then we got it to the point where, he could search the customer's name, choose like the different clients that he wanted to do the review with, and 30 minutes could get all of them done versus, 30 minutes each. So his prep time went from 4 hours to a half hour, but it was so streamlined that he handed it over to his admin to just get them all ready for him. And they were better than what he had before. He was like chicken scratching it on a piece of paper and this gave him insights about his clients, relational details, details about their dogs, what they did on their last trips, like all of that with the click of a button.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. It's that sort of stuff that would be, I've envisioned a PR dashboard that would have that type of stuff too, like being able to know the name of the dogs of the clients and the kids and their birthdays and all the important human side of things that can sometimes be hard to remember, not because you don't care, but just because all the tabs are open all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Well, and it's like, and they appreciate it so much. Like just, remembering that your dog's name is Kronos, right? Like it's the little things that make a big difference, right?
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Yes, for the audience, one of the dogs, he's no longer with us, but his name was Kronos. So yes, that was true. I've got Chaos.
Oh, I thought that was
That's Chaos.
Chaos. I'm sorry.
No, we had 3, so it's a lot. Chaos, Bougie, and Kronos. And Kronos passed, but we have Bougie and Chaos. So, dogs are awesome.
Well, I love Chaos. I love your dog, Chaos.
Yeah.
We need to work on that statement.
Oh yeah, we were teasing on a different conversation about how did I bring on Chaos with a C by naming him Chaos and constantly saying I love Chaos, I love Chaos. But now I'm having to specify that I love Chaos with a K.
Yeah.
Chaos the job,
Yeah.
not chaos and then
Yeah.
crazy reality.
Life.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a hard pass. I'm wondering if there are some people who are listening who are like, okay, I hear you saying systems a whole bunch. What the heck do you mean by systems?
Hmm. Yeah, and that's such a good question because there are like internal systems, which are very important. There are like processes that really contribute to like how the technological systems are being built. And most of what I'm talking about when I'm saying systems are like tech-based systems. And so, it could be your CRM to manage your customers, could be project management system, could be like a dashboard to kind of, see what's going on in the business, have a good high level overview of all the KPIs. One of the things that most business owners really struggle with, especially as they get to like a couple million in revenue, is what's going on? Like, what are the outliers that are slowing things down? What are the things that are really helping actually create success? Who is performing internally with the team? Who's doing what they need to as far as clients are concerned. I mean, and it goes on and on. Like, are the ads working? Are, people following the process? Are the salespeople doing what they need to do? And the system designed to really support that. And so I'm talking pretty holistically when I'm talking systems, primarily technology, and then of course, how is AI playing into that system? And so like, as you were talking, telling me about like you'd love to have all these details about your clients. I'm just thinking like it'd be really cool to have like an AI summary, just like, hey, these are all the details about this client. Here's some nuggets that you might not have picked up on from your last meeting, pulling in different transcriptions from different, AI note takers. If anyone's been on a Zoom call in the past, 3 years, you know what I'm talking about. If you come on one of mine, 10 times more what I'm talking about because I've got like 12. Um, but yeah, and then just kind of like integrating it all so that the system does the majority of the work. You just show up in your zone of genius and do what you created a business for.
Yeah, and I love that you're pointing out the zone of genius. And I don't remember who coined that phrase, but it's been around for a long time. I mean, 15 plus years, at least that I'm aware of. Because I remember when I first heard it a long time ago, I was like, oh, yeah, that's cool. Like, so that's where I'm meant to operate is in that particular part. That's what I'm best at. And, I've discovered that as you start to do things not in your zones of genius, they really suck the life out of you and they really weigh you down. And a lot of times, the things that systems replace are those things that suck the life out of you. Like that guy's reporting that I'm sure he was pulling together or some prep work.
Mhm.
But even if it's something simple, it doesn't have to be a complex, like, there might be somebody out there going, I don't really know AI that well. Can I still use systems of some sort? What's like
Mhm.
the simplest system you can think of to get someone started?
Oh man. I mean, well, so we talked about this app that I made, the KnightOps app. That's the domain. And it's basically just like a task and project management system. But, for somebody who just has a lot in their head, I would just brain dump it into a voice note and use Claude to build you a little dashboard to kind of organize it all and have everything in one spot where you can, like, it's out of your head. And that's, to me, it feels pretty simple, but I've seen a handful of people do that. And honestly, just try it out. You'd be surprised and, ask it to build it in a way that you can manage it and update it. Um, and like this is maybe a little more technical than it needs to be, but do it in Claude, turn it into a live artifact, and then you can access it and it'll actually stay updated. And so that's one thing that I would definitely encourage. Like that'll help people, breathe a little bit better who maybe don't love systems because if you don't, chances are that organization just isn't there. It's in your head, it's in notes, it's in a random task list. It might be 100 tasks, missing 20 in your CRM. And so yeah, so that's one thing that I would definitely, suggest for that.
Even like calculators and things like that. I was able to build one of our clients a calculator, an ROI calculator, for them to show potential clients, here's the potential ROI from working with us. And I was able to build that pretty easily. And now it's live on their website. So it was just thinking through all the, like, what exactly needs to go into the calculator, what data points are actually needed. And after thinking that through, it was, fairly easy. I'm comfortable with the software, so for me, it was easy peasy. But I still think it would be fairly
Yeah.
easy for someone not comfortable with the platform. So
Yeah. Yeah. And what I would say, for anybody trying to figure out like, okay, where do I start? What do I do? Going back to what's outside of your zone of genius, think about the things that you really don't enjoy doing. Maybe you're not doing them or you are, but you hate it. That's a good signal to take that off of your plate and let, AI or some sort of automation do that for you. So that's one, but most people in business want number two, which is what's helping you make the most money and how can we streamline things to amplify our capacity to do more of it. So that's most people want and jump to number two, when if they do number one first, number two will be done better.
yeah, yeah, I love that. One thing that helped me, I think I did this 2 years ago, was all week long, I literally tracked down everything that I did. Now you could probably use Little Bird and your notebook to capture these easier. But at the time, Little Bird didn't exist. So I wrote down everything I did for a whole week. And then I went through them and I'd made sure I kept my time. So I knew, okay, this task took me 6 minutes. This task took me 30 minutes. And I went and looked, I put them on a spreadsheet and I said, okay, is this something that I should delegate? Yes or no? If it was, then I would put a D next to it. And then if I had a team member currently who could do it, that was where it was going to go. If it was something I could automate, that's what I did, was automate. And if it was something that I should just stop doing altogether, it got a big old red S for stop. And it was really interesting to see. I had the spreadsheet calculate all the time that went to things I could have delegated. And it was like really shocking to see all those little 6-minute things adding up to, boom, 3 hours of my week that I could have been selling or doing the higher value things that bring clients the wins and things like that. So that was a really powerful thing that I did a couple of years ago that was really helpful. I'm trying.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Actually, it makes me think of this acronym that I heard from this. It's called the Life Hack Method. And it's a good acronym. It's TACO. And it stands for Terminate, Automate, Consolidate, or Outsource. Should be an 8, outsource at 8. And making up words. And yeah, basically exactly what you're saying. The only thing is just, consolidating, right? So like all of those 6-minute things spread out, probably costs 3 hours, but could have been 2 if it was all done in, in one time block, right? So just one extra little tidbit to that. But yeah, 100%. And that's a huge, filter for automating or just kind of looking at all of your processes in general. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it is interesting because you start to see some of the things that you do that you're like, it's not really bringing me closer to my goal. And I guess it makes me think of, I was listening to this other audiobook about scaling. I cannot remember. It's a newer author, at least newer to me. And he's talking about raising your floor, meaning what are
It's Ben.
is it Ben? Okay. I'll have to go look.
The science of scaling.
Yes, that one. Okay. So I think chapter 9. But yeah, the raising the floor. And I was like, okay, so what am I going to not keep doing? And all those types of things. And Actually, yesterday, my coach, we were talking about some stuff, and she was like, what are you going to stop allowing? And what are you going to stop accepting as part of that? And I was like, oh, that's really good. Like late payments from clients and things like that. She's like, that's part of raising the floor. Like, ooh.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that book is so good. And so it's Dr. Hardy. But I think Blake is the one who actually reads it. Blake Hahn, I believe is his name. Uh, that dude is impressive because he approached Ben with this crazy idea to partner up in scale.com, which is their business. I've gone as deep as you can with all of this with Dr. Benjamin Hardy. He's my number one favorite author.
That's
And
awesome.
that's, hands down. And then that book, it kind of, in my opinion, was like the better version of 10x is easier than 2x from like a very business focused perspective. And it really just simplified it into very clear terms. And yeah, it's just so good. And that whole raising your floor is so important because if you're going to 10x your business, it requires raising the floor and letting go of the things that are not serving you, which is, I've played that game aggressively over the past year, let go of partners, systems, strategies, processes, businesses, like you name it. It's not an easy thing. Of all of the things that are required to scale your business, the hardest one is to let go of things that you have a sunk cost bias into, that like you've put all this time, energy, money, systems, like people into. And so it's like so hard to let go of that. But like, you know, where do you want to go? Right? Thinking back to that future self, is your future self still doing that thing that you have been just like grinding at that isn't working because it's probably not aligned with your zone of genius and your human design? And, if that's the case, like taco it, right? You terminate it, automate it, consolidate it, or outsource it. And if it's, not automatable, consolidatable, or outsourceable, get rid of it, right? So it's hard. It's like the hardest part about all of this, in my opinion.
Yeah. And that includes even letting clients go who are no longer aligned with the future version of you. That's, I know, a really scary thing for people, but I know that I've seen it happen time and time again for business owners that once they get that through their head and then they make that shift, a next bigger thing comes along that's so aligned and feels so effortless. And it's like, oh, why did I wait so long?
Fear. It's all fear. And that's like the signal too. It's so funny because like we have these things that we want to do and these versions of ourselves that we want to be, but then we have our past that, gets in the back of our head and it's like, oh, but what happens if, this and that and this and that. And I just, had a really good reframe this week that it's like, okay, the worst case scenarios are, they're real, right? But like, what if the best case scenarios happened? Like, we don't spend enough time thinking about, okay, if I let this go, what is the best case scenario, right? And so that was kind of the exercise I did with my other community was, what would KnightOps look like in 90 days if I let it go, if I terminated it or outsourced it? And so I outsourced it. I planted this seed months ago. We've been working towards it. I was just like, it's time because it would look amazing. And I would be just like so happy. I am like, I'm loving it. Like, and so I'm so glad that I did that. But it was hard and it was scary. But I knew like I was like, that's the signal. Like I let fear be the signal to the greatest growth that we can achieve. And so I've done a couple of fear challenges where I like exercise that muscle. And that's basically this guy Q, who I just talked to today. He had you identify 100 fears that you have. And then over 3 weeks, you face 5 a day. And yeah, I went bungee jumping and like I held a snake. I almost held a B. We were talking about that. So that was probably one of the scariest things. The scariest thing was actually going downtown Salt Lake with a little microphone and a speaker, and I went live on TikTok at the same time, like speaking to people randomly on the street.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
It was intense.
That
Yeah.
sounds a bit much for me. But I'm glad it works for you. I love that for you. No, I feel like that's the non-Southern version of bless your heart, but
Yeah.
but no,
That's
I mean
awesome.
that's great. That's definitely one approach, and I know that we definitely have to face our fears. And I talk about this a lot with the neuroscience part of it, and we see these changes, and what we don't realize a lot of times is that it's our ego, not ego as in pride, but like the psychology term ego. Um, its job is to just keep us alive. And at the present second, we are currently alive. So it's like, yes, I'm doing a great job. Nothing should change, nothing whatsoever. And so whenever we start to go for these bold moves, the ego's going, whoa, wait, this feels really unsteady. You could die. A bear could eat you. Like that's how dramatic our ego gets because it's not realizing that this is actually a good thing. All it knows is the uncertainty is there, and its job is to keep you, copacetic, keep you sane and alive. So you have to do a lot of inside your head work to get that ego to realize, no, this is a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I say this all the time, especially as I was going through the fear challenge. But and I mentioned it before, but that fear is really the signal to the greatest growth in our lives. And it can be scary, but like really, what is the worst case scenario? Better, what's the best case, right? And so, and I don't know. I feel like I was listening to some of your earlier podcasts, so I don't know how spiritual and all that the audience is, but in the Bible, that's what it talks about. It says like fear is the signal, the straight and narrow path is the scary one. And when you feel that signal, it's like that's your sign. Like if you want to grow and become that version of yourself that you know you can be, face it head on. And one of my clients, she's so amazing. She has this framework, ask, listen, do, that I just love. And I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, right? Her name is Kira Brinton. She's amazing. Actually, I think you guys would really love to connect. She has a publishing company.
That is
Yeah.
definitely
So
in the wheelhouse.
yeah. Yeah, she does like documentaries and all that, helps people like channel their books and all that. And so she has this framework that she attributes to being responsible for building a $2 million a year business. Is she'll ask like, okay, what do I need to know? What do I need to hear? What am I avoiding? Like whatever it is to achieve whatever it is, and then just listen. And whatever you attribute to the voice in your head telling you something, it's usually accurate, but we lie to ourselves. We pretend like, oh, but what about this? What about that? We make up excuses and, rationalize things. And it's like, but then if you ask again, chances are it's just going to be the same thing said in a different way, maybe louder. And until we do it and take action on it, it's just going to keep festering. And a lot of the times, if we're avoiding things that we know could help us, we're avoiding doing things, making calls, making a hard call, a big call, a scary one, whatever, like we're going to stay where we're at. And it's as soon as we take action on what we hear, we know we need to do to be aligned with our, best version of our future self, like that's when it starts to get magical and powerful, So it's amazing. Like I think that it's such a powerful framework.
Yeah,
And I'm like trying to do that more.
100%. And you're hitting on the key point too with the action part of everything, because I see it in both the manifestation world and in the spiritual world. A lot of times, sometimes people will just stop at the prayer or asking for it, and they don't actually do anything. It's like, well, that's not how it works. No matter which frame or which lens you're looking at it from, you still have to take the next aligned action. And so, yeah, that's one that a lot of people don't like to hear, is that they actually have to do something. They can't, it's not a magic genie lamp where you can just ask and sit on the sofa and boom, there's $1,000,000. Doesn't work like that. And then you made me think too, when you're talking about the best case scenario, there's another author I follow, and Andrew is his first name, but his last name is escaping me. And he has this exercise he takes people through where it's a rapid ascension of best case scenario. So let's say somebody wants a promotion. Okay, so they sit down and they start doing some vision work, and they get the promotion, and then they get an even bigger raise, and then they become head of the company, and then they become mayor, and they just ascend up to the most delusional top versions of what, the possibilities. It's like, if we can spiral down to the absolute worst possibilities, he wants you to spiral up to the absolute insanely crazy fun possibilities. And he just talks about, once you do that, you start to look at that promotion as, oh, well, that's a pretty easy step. Okay, cool.
Yeah. The Andrew Huberman?
Well, maybe so. He wrote the
Sounds like his
book
work.
of manifestation you'll ever need to read. I think is what it's called.
I think so. Yeah.
It's a pretty simple.
Yeah. I haven't actually dug into his stuff, but I know about him. I've looked into some of it, but yeah, it's super important. I like to say
It's a good one for people who are maybe just kind of starting. I like to dig into more of the science behind it, the neuroscience and the quantum science behind it, because a lot of times it does help me bridge the spiritual gap. Like anytime I understand Bible verses now better, because I understand the science that it's talking about in that. So anyway, go ahead.
nice. Yeah. I was just going to say, I like to say, going back to what you said on manifestation, manifestation without action are just dreams.
Yeah. Just wishes that it's like, you've got to do your part.
Yeah. It's good. It's good subconscious programming, right? Because you say something enough, that repetition enough will start to program your subconscious to then see pathways, or at least acknowledge, that something needs to happen. But there really are a lot of people who think that, you can just think it and it will come true. And it's not to say that, miracles don't happen and that things can't just show up magically in your life. There are very proven examples of that happening. And that's awesome. I think that's more of a, shifting your frequency and your vibration than just kind of sitting there thinking about it. But it's still, that is an action, right? Like
getting in alignment,
making that shift.
So like as a Christian, being in alignment with God is shifting your frequency. People don't want to call it that.
Yeah, right. And it comes through action, right? Because if you pray for something and you are, you hear a message to do something and you don't act on it, it's almost like you're kind of creating a polarity of like disbelief and kind of, saying that you know better than the universe, and it's giving you instructions, but we're too afraid. And that's what it comes down to. And that I've seen, with myself and other people more often than not, is not taking action out of a place of fear because we're comfortable and we don't want to get out of that zone. That's why I do the fear challenge. I don't know that I'll do it again. I think I might be set on that. Maybe I will, but because the third time, I think these challenges that I would face would be like next level. But I'm still tempted as I'm talking about it. So yeah, all about facing your fears.
We are very complex as humans, aren't we? So many layers.
Yeah. Yep. It's great.
Well, where can people connect with you? Because I know you've mentioned a few businesses, but where's the best way to connect with you now?
Well, I am pretty active on LinkedIn, so you can find me there. Daniel Martinez Knight, I think is how I have it. I just changed it because my legal last name is Martinez. So I'd say that. I also would love to invite people to check out. I made this AI systems audit assessment. It's like super cool because it gives tons of information about gaps and opportunities to generate more revenue, save time. And you can do that at knightops.biz/audit. And then if you do that, that'll give you a link to book on my calendar if you feel so inclined. And yeah, I'd say that that's the best spot. If you message me on LinkedIn or try to connect, there's a good chance you'll hear from my AI agent who will also send you that same link. And, but mention Chrissy and I won't ignore that message because you've just quickly become like one of my favorite people. I just love, the energy and conversations we've had. So
Well, I try, my goal in life is to have people look at me and see what's possible for them. And because I'm a very imperfect person, but I'm trying to be a better version of me every single day. And I believe the tide rises all boats. And so I'm just, I try to be a light in the world, if you will. So thank you.
you are 100%.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you again for joining
Thank
me.
you.
And I know the listeners are going to get a lot out of this. So thanks, Daniel.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Chrissy. And thank you everybody for tuning in. Really appreciate it.